12 years ago, I started a secret society, which had the peculiar property of only being secret for those who were members. My son has been running me through a series of campaigns in Call of Cthulhu, and it's been really fun. But one of the things I noticed was that he was using the box lid as his GM screen, and I thought, my goodness, this is something I can improve on. So I made him a new GM screen for Christmas. I covered it with a bunch of designs from adventures we'd been on, and I used leather and rivets to form the hinges. Now, originally, I was just going to do this as a quick build video, just a montage, put it out there, get it over with. But I was so happy with the way it came out, I thought, well, maybe other people might be interested in this. Like, I could do a slightly more detailed summary of using rivets and leather to do hinges for a screen like this. A pretty cheap way to get into riveting leather is to get one of these combination rivet sets. They come with an anvil and a rivet setter and even this cheap punch. You also get an assortment of these caps and posts in different sizes and colors. They're not going to win any awards, but they can get the job done. You can also use something like this rotating head hole punch. Just remember to squeeze hard because otherwise those little plugs can be hard to remove. For these two-part compression rivets, the post pops right into the cap, and then you just hammer it down to lock them together. But what's really going on in there? I wish you could see. This looks like a job for the cross-sectionograph, which is really just a piece of sandpaper. You can see how the post is bulged out, locking it in place. And a deeper look shows how the hammering compressed the tip in and forced the walls of the post to be wider. Because the screen has to close, instead of using these dome-headed rivets on the inside, I used these flat-headed ones. Did I do any pieces? You bet I did test pieces. Look at this cute little book I made. And this was to test the hinge and make sure I had enough space to see if the rivets would actually allow it to close. I tested the size of the magnet holes and also how strong the magnets were going to be for holding it shut. So I learned a lot from one little tiny test piece. And I couldn't do a lot of test pieces because I only had a small amount of leather. I had the leather from a briefcase that I got at Goodwill a couple of years ago. And I got it because I was making this plague doctor mask for my son for Halloween. And it came out nice, and I had a little bit of leather left over. So I had enough to do these hinges, but I was like, oh gosh, I can't do too many big tests or I'm gonna run out. To smooth the edges of the leather, I used Tokonole. Remember folks, it's only for professionals. So I super professionally put some on with this old nail and rub it in with my finger. And if I had sanded and then carefully burnished afterwards, I could make the side completely smooth and nice. But I actually want the screen to look kind of old, so I was looking for more of a rustic look. I use this 1/8" plywood, and the holes for the rivets are pretty non-critical. Just choose a size that's slightly larger than this part of the cap. The plywood plus this 3-ounce leather had me using an 8mm rivet. One of the things I recommend when doing a design is that if you have elements that are required, like the magnets for holding it closed and the rivets for holding the leather on, you integrate them into your design. So instead of hiding them or trying to work around them, you feature them. So that way you get a sort of stronger overall design. For instance, you can see here that I formed tentacles out of the leather, and because I knew there had to be these rivets, I made the rivets sort of to be a bit like suction cups. And even on the inside, where there were going to be rivet heads and they had to be visible, I made a design that sort of featured the rivet heads instead of trying to hide them. And you can see here, I'm featuring the magnets over here instead of hiding them. I work them into the design so that they become features. So I guess that's my little design tip is like, don't hide the necessary elements, feature them. Also, for instance, I wanted to have the screen, I didn't want to have it be that you had to sort of claw at the seam to try and get it open. And so what I did was I made the top be non-straight, and then that way you can just go boop and open it up. And because I was thinking about doing that, I actually came up with this design where it's sort of like evil wings. And so the design became stronger because the more functional features you're trying to work in, the more you're sort of constraining your design and the more you kind of get to work within that design space. My son wants to go brush teeth, so I gotta go. I really had a lot of fun. I was really proud of the way this one came out. It's like so compact and it works so nice. Pop! I love it. So if you end up making one, please let me know. Well, and of course, the most important thing is that my son will love the screen. And we've already used it a bunch of times, pitting ourselves against the dark and sinister forces. It's been super fun. It really is wonderful to get to spend time with him and see him flex his creativity and storytelling. I'm so lucky.